This is part 3 of the videos. This is a long video because we're going into addiction. It's a very sober subject. So part 3. I think of cool like dating Taylor Swift, or something like that. Something that would get me street cred and be accepted, like people looking at me like, oh, he's so cool. So that makes sense. But on a Wednesday night before bed, talking about addictions and stuff like that, I don't consider that cool. I consider that work. I consider that a type of accountability. I consider that a kind of growth. And in that respect, it's cool because it's awesome, but it's not like trendy. So I think of the adaptive adolescent in you. What do you do to be cool? What do you do to cope? What are you telling yourself? What helps you get through not dealing with internal stuff? Example, so for me it was deciding never to settle down, never to marry. That story helped me cope with all the heartbreak I saw in the world. I was like, well, it's just bullshit. Does that make sense? Well, it's just bullshit. So it writes off everything instead of saying, what if it's so, but what if they're also adapting? What if everyone else is also not healed? Does that make some sense? So there's this level of expansion and growth and acceptance that adult needs versus a teenager sort of wants to write things off. I went into that one because that's such an important. Who's in the driver's seat of your life? Is it that teenager, or is it you, the adult? For me right now, it's the adult. And sometimes the teenager takes over, but a lot less than the average, okay? Know your triggers. Okay? What are the triggers to your behavior? In other words, what makes you feel insecure? What makes you feel like you need to reach out for that joint? What makes you feel like you need to turn on the computer and watch some pornography? Is it feelings of isolation? Feeling like overwhelmed? Feeling like you just want to feel a sense of bliss, a sense of elevation? Feeling like, what makes you reach for that pizza when you know you're on a diet and you know you don't need it? You've eaten everything you need. What is it? What are your triggers? Maybe you haven't eaten enough fiber. Maybe you haven't eaten well. Maybe you haven't worked out. Maybe you haven't taken some time to talk to yourself or describe your ideal self. So what are the triggers, the things that are making you react and go to your go-to addiction, your go-to salvation? Ask yourself what they are. For me, it's being alone too long, or having too much idle hands, or kind of falling into little things like if I watch too much TV, or if I get home and I turn on the TV. Getting home and turning on the TV, that's a trigger for me. For whatever reason, think about it, that when I used to do that I was a kid, right? As an adult, I don't turn on the TV. When I came home from school, as a kid, I was a latchkey kid. Nobody would be home sometimes, and I would just watch cartoons. And so think about what that did for me, sort of like let me in a way feel like something was there, feel like there was a level of comfort. And so am I reaching for comfort? Am I adapting? Is the loneliness and isolation helping me reach for comfort, that TV? And then that begins opening up other things that I did as a teenager. Now when I get home, sometimes if I just need to feel better, I just take a nap or listen to a hypnosis track to kind of still get some energy and still put my mind in a state. And I'm still seeing the images, but those images are things that are going to help fuel my ideas versus the ideas of Hollywood, or the ideas of, zombies or drugs or war or love or lust or affairs. You see what I mean? And that's what Hollywood sells, because that's what sells. And that's what sells because that's what's sort of like that teenage time, right? A video like this, being sober and, being an adult, it takes work, and there's a level of boringness to it. So in a way, to sell you the idea of being an adult is to sell you in a way boredom. I'm just saying there is a certain level of boredom that comes that will scare a lot of people away, and that's the truth of it. Do you really think that monogamy every day of your life, every day, or being married to somebody or something like that is always going to be exciting and thrilling? Probably not. There will probably be levels of stillness and deep stillness. And if you can't be still, that it would might come across you as boredom. And that boredom might trigger you to want to seek adventure. And that seeking of adventure might lead you to seeking affair. Does that make sense? You starting to see how there's a correlation here to what I'm saying. The triggers may make you get into your addictions. So know your triggers. know the cost of the addiction. Know the cost of the addiction. I think this is a big one for the sheer fact that addictions are sometimes considered, okay, well, we know the cost of drugs. Okay, drugs cost $10 or $12 or $20 or $25, whatever. There's a cost monetarily. And then we also know that, well, you can also get fired from your job if you do drugs, right? There's also that cost. But have you considered, like, for example, there's harmless addictions like, needing a lot of validation. Have you considered the cost of needing validation externally? Maybe if you always need external validation, you can never operate from a level of yourself and your deep heart and your soul, and really sink into your soul seat and really just talk from there. Like, I feel like I'm talking from you right now from that place. But I wouldn't be able to talk to you from that place if I was just always addicted to what's cool, what's validating, what's gonna for sure be great. So this work here that you're seeing right now, it's coming from a really deep place. It was hard for me to get this, I think, out, because I knew it would be sobering. I knew it would be like so viscerally raw, right? I knew that. I knew it. So it was hard to do this video, not because standing here and talking is hard, but for the emotional weight I had to move within myself. Does that make sense? What you think about it? Think about what you'd have to move within yourself to get on Facebook Live, for example, and talk about your addictions and things that you aren't necessarily proud of yourself for doing. Think about that. And then, that's what he's doing. That's what he's feeling. Does that make some sense? So, know the cost of your addictions, okay? Know the cost of your addictions. Some people might say, well, going to a strip club is harmless. Well, you might be contributing to somebody's prostitution. I've met many strippers who are prostitutes, and you paying them may keep them in the cycle, in this loop that, oh, it's great to be a prostitute, I get paid money, and maybe they'll never meet their soulmate. And there's a cost for them, and then there's a cost of, they're getting paid, and there's a cost for you paying for a prostitute. I've known people that have paid for prostitutes. It's something that does happen in this world. And maybe pornography, for example. You might never meet your soulmate because you're so busy dissipating your desire for woman, your energy for woman, into a pornography, into a towel somewhere. The seed that could create the lineage for your kids, you're just blowing it away. And then there's a prostitute on the other end, or a porn people, an actress. They call themselves actresses. There was a woman just recently that killed herself, August Ames. She was a porn star. Is that I'm saying? Is it really a victimless addiction? Ask yourself. We all know that being a crackhead, sometimes people steal when they're crackheads. So there's clearly those costs are really evident. But I'm saying, look at your behavior and say, is this really a victimless behavior that you have? Is it really victimless? Just because it's legal and you get away with it, and you may always get away with it, like masturbation and pornography, like that's probably always going to be illegal. But do you want to consider that it has absolutely no consequences just because no one tells you that it's wrong and it's done in private, and there's really no physical side effects? Like, look at yourself. Like, Yogananda says that too much sex makes a person get older. Based on what I've seen in people, I would agree. I'd say that when I conserve my sexual energy and sexual transmutation and things like that, conserving energy for sexual energy for production, I find myself getting younger. When I sort of deplete my sexual energy, I think I'll get a white hair or something like that. And I think I honestly see a correlation. I'm just saying that don't discount something that it has no cost because I'm not paying for it, or because it's a victim, it only involves me. Just don't discount it. Don't be so quick to discount it. Know the cost of the behavior. Okay, so self-regulatory behavior. Self-regulating behavior. This is an important one. Now we're getting into how to manage addictions, okay? Self-regulating behavior. Going to sleep early, limiting consumption are examples, okay? So, for example, today I've not eaten any junk food. I ate some peanuts, I ate some chicken breast and some rice. I'm gonna have some eggs, and that's pretty much it. That's all I'll have, and I'm happy with that. I'm limiting my consumption of junk food and nourishing myself with good food. I'm gonna go to sleep early. I work out, I drink water, I take my vitamins, I shower, I floss, I brush my teeth. I surround myself with positive people. I don't watch TV. These are self-regulating behaviors. Like I'm telling you, it's connected to knowing your triggers. I set myself up every day. I look at my habits. I look at my mind. I do hypnosis. I meditate. So as you see, these are self-regulating behaviors that stack upon each other that help me to produce the person you see in front of you. If one of those things is off, no showering, that has an effect. Meditation, no meditation, that has a big effect. No flossing, no brushing your teeth, that has a big effect. Does that make sense? Not looking at my date. So these seemingly trivial behaviors, these self-regulating behaviors, these good habits, while seemingly trivial, make up a huge part of who you become. In The Greatest Salesman in the World, Og Mandino starts in that, where he goes, today I begin a new life. If you do affirmations, stuff like that, some people are going to tell you discount these things, but look at how they live their life. And look at the people that are thriving in life, and they're all about affirmations. So who are you going to listen to, right? Look at people that you want to emulate, and look at what they're about, and then model that, right? Okay, this person's all about self-regulating behavior, and they're going somewhere in life, and they have good energy, and who cares if you sleep late? Oh yeah, who cares if you floss? Who cares if you eat well? Who cares? Like, okay, and then look at what they're producing. So be honest with yourself and look at what self-regulating behaviors do you have. Adulthood. As I told you, I consider myself an adult now at this stage of my life. I'm definitely a grower. I've already lived through my 20s, and you could be 28 years old and still be wanting to party, hook up with chicks, be about, are you cool, are you not cool? So just because you're of an age of technically an adult doesn't mean that you really are one in behavior. So as an adult, you want to know your needs, be adaptive. In other words, I'm not saying I'm never going to have a glass of wine, okay? I like wine. I'm not saying I'm never going to, have a lustful thought or, oh man, she's beautiful, oh man, oh, she's wow. But as an adult, I can say, listen, I'm thinking too much about that person. It's not healthy for me. It's not going to go anywhere. That person's not even compatible with me. And if I want a wife, I'm either going to ask her out and see if she wants to be serious, or maybe I should keep on moving. So this is into concept of dominating yourself versus having people, codependencies and addictions and validation stuff dominate you. No, being an adult means self-management and self-care, and being, get this one, the parent that you never had. Neil Strauss wrote the other day, you're never going to heal from your wounds. You're never going to heal from your problems, but you cannot outgrow them. So an adult looks to outgrow them. That's what this video is about. It's about me telling you strategies on how to outgrow your issues and your addictions, and by doing so, helping myself also outgrow mine. Because that's more important than being cool. That's more important than validation or pleasing everybody. It's like, what does this adult need to get to that next level of growth? And ask yourself that. What do you need? What is you, the person that wants to be an adult, what do you need to get to this next level of growth? As I told you, I'm the creator of Common Sense Self-Mastery. You're going to have to answer that question as common sense and as simple as it sounds. Answer it. Answer the question. Accountability. I recently found a thread on Reddit. And I think Reddit is a great place to find accountability. And I think it's the 5th step in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. It talks about going to a person that you trust, that you pick a person and then talk. And I did that. I have a friend who I said, look, I've had this addiction most of my life with having trouble settling down and monogamy. I want to talk to you about it. And he was open, okay? Adult entertainment, things like this. And he said, okay, cool. And so what I liked about Reddit was that it was just awesome to find people that were very supportive and willing to talk. And I found an accountability partner. Find your accountability partner for whatever it is. Are you taking off your clothes too much on Instagram, and you want to stop doing that? Or maybe maybe you need to do that. I don't know. I'm not trying to judge you. I'm just saying, what do you need to do, and who can you find in your life to help you overcome the behavior that's no longer serving you? That's a great question. Who can you find in your life to help you talk about and knows you're being serious, not a joker? And I think Reddit is a great place to look for accountability. Accountability, I can't speak highly enough about it, because if someone's willing to talk to you and know that, again, you're not joking, you know, that's something like, I'm a leadership coach. Like, that's in fitness and leadership and these other aspects. Like, if you talk about meditation, you're not going to make me get tired of meditation per se. Like, obviously, if you talk about it for 12 hours, hey, okay, let's meditate or stop, or we can't talk. But I'm saying, like, there's people in the world that are serious about the endeavor and where you want to improve. And there's a lot of people that think meditation's crap. So it's just, you can't talk to them about it because they're going to think it's crap. You have to find people, and I think Reddit's a great place to say, look, I'm wanting to find this place in my life. And obviously friends, but I'm saying if you can't find a friend or a local area, I think it's a great place to start immediately. And then from there, maybe find a church or a support group or a 12-step group or something to help you overcome your addiction. The 12 steps, one day at a time, okay? The 12 steps of the Alcoholics Anonymous are they're everywhere. You can get a book, my family reads them, and I think that the addictions in my family entered through, like, my grandpa and grandpa for sure, whoever, and who knows where it came from before them, but my grandpa served in the war, he had PTSD, and nobody really told him, it wasn't called that back then, and I think that we all struggled with anger, and then coping with that anger and stuff like that, and that came from the war. That's what I think, okay, and I talked to my aunt about it, and she agreed, and so I think that PTSD's trickled into the family, and there was anger, and then through that anger that made other coping mechanisms like drinking and stuff come into the picture. And so, you know, step one is saying, you know, I have a problem and I need God to help me do it. And then there's other steps like, you know, talking to a friend, making amends, and I've done all these things. And again, I love that there's a system at play here to say, I'm going to do this. And there's a very sobering, serious attitude that happens when you want to actually walk away. Now, again, a minor addiction probably isn't going to kill you. This isn't. I'm not looking at this camera and saying, "Oh man, I have a debilitating addiction." But if I ever want to overcome something, and there's this program called 12 Steps, and I'm just saying, like, do you ever want to get past your level, or are you going to continually run the same ideas that you've been running all your life and hope that now, all of a sudden, you know, may say you're 30, you know, 40 years old, do you think 50 years old and you think now you're going to overcome this? So understand that first and foremost, that if you've had all your life to work on something that you have not yet overcome, it may be time for you to look in the mirror and face that you have an issue. So the 12 Steps by Alcoholics Anonymous are a great place to start, and I'm sure there's many support groups on Reddit and in other places on the line in your community. I'm sure you could find a support group, Sexaholics Anonymous, whatever. It doesn't matter. Workaholics. I don't matter. Like, what's your thing, and what do you need to get rid of, and what can you overcome, and what can you